Good afternoon to all my listeners, ladies and gentlemen, saints and friends who are listening. You are tuned into the Let's Get It with Alerica Anderson podcast. It's a podcast that speaks about music, speaks about sports, pop culture, mostly sports and pop culture, but I'm a musician, so I love talking about that. If you're just now tuning in, this is the first time, welcome. Hopefully you're listening to us on our platforms that we are now featured on. We are on SoundCloud so that you can listen to us anytime. And we are now on Bing, Spotify. So if you want to listen to us in your car or on your personal device, hit us up on Spotify. Let's Get It with Aleric, Alerica Anderson. Let's Get It with Aleric Anderson is now on Spotify. So listen to us anytime. Download the podcast, listen to old podcasts, whatever you need to do to get a feel of this podcast, because we are so happy to be doing this and doing it for you. I'm a fan. I'm a big sports fan, and I love talking about sports. So that's what we do. That's how we get down. So so welcome to the show. For those of you all, this is your first time listening. For my listeners who've been with us since the beginning, thank you for supporting the show. You all, I've been hearing your feedback. I've been getting the attaboys. I've been getting the good work and all that stuff. I also been getting some critique. I don't say criticism, been getting some critique, and they've been very good. And thank you for listening, and thank you for caring enough to talk back to me and tell me how you like the show. Keep listening. If you want to get in contact with the show, want to drop us a line, you can do that at 7musicandsports@gmail.com. That's SEVN Music, 7musicandsports at gmail.com. If you want to go ahead and hit us up and check us out on that. If you're a music fan and you want to see what I'm doing musically, you can always go to 7musicgroup.com and see what we do, see what the 7 Music Group does. And we got a lot of stuff coming up too, and I'll be letting you know about that, and even interviewing some of the people that I'll be working with on some projects going forward. So yeah, we've been real heavy on sports now, but now we're kind of branching out, so we'll be doing a little bit of everything. So we may even talk a little politics coming up soon, because there's some stuff going on in America right now, and sometimes you need to lend your voice to some things when you have this kind of power, when you have a microphone in front of you. So, but not today. I promised you that we would be real NBA heavy today, but I wanted to take a slight detour because I was watching some football, a lot of football this past weekend. And yeah, my Rams, I don't even know what was going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was real crazy. But, it's an anomaly. That kind of stuff happens. Shout out to Jameis Winston, who had the game of his life. Chris Godwin, who had the game of his life. Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that called an incredible game. Todd Bowles, who's the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, called an incredible defense, turned over the Rams 4 times. Jared Goff had a bad game, and of course, all the people are coming out talking about Jared Goff and all the issues with Jared Goff. He had a bad game. Bad games happen. He still threw for over 400 yards. He was still balling out. We still had because I'm a Rams fan, so when I talk about the Rams, I say we. Todd Gurley still scored 2 touchdowns. We still had 2 wide receivers that were over 100 yards in receiving. We still sacked the quarterback. We still got interception, pick 6. It was one of those games that happens. We got to bounce back soon, because we play in the division, 3-1 Seattle, in Seattle on Thursday. And so on Thursday's show, we'll break that game down a little bit much. But back to what I wanted to talk about as far as football. I wanted to talk about on the field, but specifically some things I saw over the weekend. Now, over the past several years, there's been issues in NFL and in college football and to high school and the younger levels of football to some lesser extent. A crackdown on illegal hits and a push towards player safety. There's been a lot of talk about increasing games, decreasing games, getting rid of the preseason, all that kind of stuff, adding more players to the roster so there will be more players available to coaches, a whole bunch of things that they've been talking about. But I noticed something in this weekend's games that really disturbed me. I saw a lot of illegal late hits. Now, when I say illegal late hits, I'm not talking about tackles after the whistle. That's a late hit. But I'm talking about illegal late hits, low hits, helmet-to-helmet hits. Let me cite you a few examples. I was watching the Philly-Green Bay game. In the Philly-Green Bay game, there were 2 players taken off on stretchers. One on the first kickoff, taken off on stretchers because of helmet-to-helmet contact. And Philadelphia had both of those players that were taken off on stretchers because of illegal hits. One of the hits was what they call friendly fire, meaning one of the players hit his own player. And I saw a lot of that, a lot of players launching themselves, a lot of players trying to actually hurt players on Sunday. In the New England Buffalo game, Josh Allen, their quarterback, was driving on New England, going into the red zone, driving on New England. It was 16-10. He runs out the pocket. He runs left out of the pocket. He's being tackled, and a New England player comes, bang, hit him dead in the head, took him out of the game. They put Matt Barkley in the game. Matt Barkley threw one great pass down the right side, and then he did Matt Barkley things, threw an interception that pretty much, when they took Josh Allen out, who was playing great, he was outplaying Tom Brady, really outplaying Tom Brady. Tom Brady was my quarterback on my fantasy team. I got 4 points with Tom Brady. It was very, very, very disappointing. I suffered my first loss in the Kipper League with my team. But I digress. I don't want to talk about that. I want to get back to what I was talking about. But Josh Allen getting taken off on the stretcher, it cost Buffalo a chance to tie that game or with an extra point, go in the lead, and completely change the complexion of that game. In the Tampa Bay Rams game, Marcus Peters on his pick 6 as he was crossing the goal line. Offensive lineman, I don't know who he is for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, left his feet and launched himself head first into Marcus Peters, and he was immediately removed from the game. In the Oakland Indy game, everybody knows, if you follow sports, that Vontaze Burfict has been suspended for the rest of the season for an illegal hit on Jack Doyle, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. He copped a pass. He was about to get up. And yeah, you can tackle that dude. You can hit him really hard. But Vontaze Burfict did Vontaze Burfict things, went to his head, and they kicked him out of the game. Now, this ain't the first time for Vontaze Burfict. It ain't the second time. It ain't the third time. It ain't the fourth time. He was doing this when he was at Arizona State playing football. He's been doing it. He played for Cleveland, for the Cincinnati Bengals. You remember the famous or the infamous hit on Antonio Brown in the Steelers game that even the coach, Joey Porter, came off the sideline and got into it. Joey Porter be doing stupid things. But Vontaze Burfict has been doing this kind of thing for a long time. The league suspended him for the rest of the season. I don't think he's going to be back next year. I think the Oakland Raiders rolled the dice on him, thinking that it was going to get something from him, and they got exactly what you get. So it's a lot of illegal hits, and I'm always amazed how the players always want to fight the owners. Now, I get it. There's a lot of things to fight with the owners about. There are a lot of things in football that needs to have more equity. There are a lot of things in football that are detrimental to the players. I get that. I understand that, and I'm with you. But on the field, when it's player versus player, and when players don't try to make great tackles, players are out there trying to hurt each other. That right there is a problem. And I think the NFL has to do something about that. Now, people say, well, they got too many rules now. Generally, people who talk about football is too soft or football are people who've never played football. Generally, people who have played football would never say the game. Now, you hear those guys on ESPN, but do you wonder why some of those guys got out of the game early? They got out of the game early because football hurts, okay? And if they could have, they would have stepped back for a minute and say, hey, I could prolong my career if I didn't try to hurt myself or hurt others all the time, if I wasn't throwing myself into different players. And so, but when fans say that, I give football players their latitude because they play the games. But when I hear folks that ain't never played nothing, never coached nothing, never nothing, talking about how soft the game is, I'm like, stop it. What you need to do, I remember years ago, Ahmad Rashad used to do football games for NBC way back in the day. And he was doing a story, and they was talking about what's it like to be a wide receiver in an NFL. And Ahmad Rashad said, and you probably looked this up on YouTube, Ahmad Rashad said, imagine going in your backyard and somebody throwing you a football. And right as somebody throws you the football, somebody hits you in the head with a bat. That's what Ahmad Rashad, one of the greats of all time in the National Football League, that's what he said it's like playing football. So yes, it's a difficult sport. It's a painful sport. I get that. But when players are out there hitting their own players in the head, launching themselves head first, they're not just trying to take the other player out, but they're putting themselves at risk. So, I saw that a lot, and I hope that this weekend will kind of move that back and shift that thing to the players start playing well again and start considering each other. I'm not saying don't tackle. I'm not even saying don't blow them up. I remember that you got jacked up. I'm with that. But jacked up don't mean you got hit in the head, helmet to helmet. I was flying at you and I hit you in the head. That ain't getting jacked up. Jacked up is those hits where you just grab that bow. That's jacked up. Not I knocked you out because I launched myself like a missile at your head. So players have to have some responsibility, bear some responsibility, and I hope that this weekend's games will be a little. The players will take in consideration their teammates as well as their opponents on the field. That everybody needs to go home on the evening after the game or the afternoon after the game, and nobody wants to go off the field on a stretcher. So yeah, but it was some great games. It was some really great games. I mentioned that Rams game. That Philly Green Bay game was a really good game. That bad man was really bad at the end. That interception, the Aaron Rodgers interception at the end was really, really bad. He was down his receiver who was out, the kid that had the really, really great game, Devontae Adams. He hurt his toe on the last reception right before on that drive, and he was not in there. And Aaron was just trying to force that in and got it picked off, and that cost them the game. Philly resurrected their season with that win. So it was some great games. New England, they barely got out of Buffalo alive. Buffalo's defense is really, really nice. They have a nice defense. And the Dallas New Orleans game, this was a put up, shut up game for Dak, and Dak did not do well in that game. Zeke did not do well in that game. The wide receiver had Amari Cooper had 2 offensive pass interference in that game. It just looked like the Cowboys were reading too many of their press clippings, and they didn't play well at all, and they ended up losing to a surging New Orleans Saints team with Teddy Bridgewater as their quarterback right now. Drew Brees nurses that thumb back. They still got Alvin Kamara, and they're looking nice. Defense is holding up, and they're looking nice. So New Orleans look like they're trying to take that NFC South division. Even though the Carolina Panthers won again this past weekend, they gave that ball to McCaffrey, and McCaffrey did his thing. So let me stop for a minute. Have y'all peeped Cam Newton lately? That cat, he did an interview, and he's hurt right now, and he says he's gonna take his time getting back, and I get that, man. But he doing the interview, sitting up there with a cigar in his mouth, chilling, doing all that. I'm with you, Cam. Cam, do you? Okay, I ain't gonna talk about what you wear, none of that stuff. I do you, Cam. But man, that was a little, during the season, sitting up there smoking a cigar. Okay, I ain't judging you, but they winning with you sitting on the bench. So just a heads up, we know how the NFL is. Like that, Jerry Glanville said a few years ago, NFL means not for long if you keep making those calls or keep making those plays or keep missing games or keep throwing interceptions or keep fumbling the ball. So we got some great games coming up this weekend. I'm not going to really touch on them until Thursday because I promised you that I'll be heavy on the NBA. Boy, man. Look, the NBA is on. It's on and popping. It is time. It is time. Look, if you want to hear NBA insight from somebody who loves the game, who loves the game and is talking about it, and you know, who really love the game and watch the game, you need to holler at your boy, because I'm gonna give it to you straight, no chaser. Yes, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. I love the Golden State Warriors, but I go way back with this basketball thing. So we can talk about whatever you want to talk about with this NBA. I can take you back to some ABA, Dr. J's Spirits of St. Louis. Come on now, Kentucky Colonels. If you want to go back there, we can go get all of that. But we're talking about this season right here, the 1920, the 2019-2020 season is underway. Training camps opened on yesterday. Man, I am excited. First of all, let me just let all y'all know, Toronto ain't gonna smell nothing as it relates to the playoffs or nothing. So that was an anomaly. That was a blip on the radar. Toronto, they are the champions, but that was a blip on the radar. Goodbye, Toronto. Thank you for playing our game. When I give you my top 16 teams, Toronto ain't nowhere in them. So you ain't even got to worry. What do you think about Toronto repeating? I think nothing about Toronto repeating, because they will not be repeating. So we got 21 days before the start of the regular season, man. I'm excited. Now, some people say, I don't watch preseason. But if you happen to want to watch preseason, you got the Warriors and the Lakers on Saturday night. Now, you may not be one of the people. You may say, well, you ain't the way you can really play. Whatever you want to say. But I want to see, in that game, I want to see the new guys, the young guys, with the Golden State Warriors. They made a little sneaky acquisition over the last 48 hours. They brought in Marquise Chris, a tremendously athletically gifted player. He's kind of bounced around the league. You know, he had his best days down in Phoenix, kind of bounced around. He's still young. I look at him like a Draymond Green, but with more hops. Younger Draymond Green. They picked that cat up, man. That's going to be sneaky. They got Willie Cauley-Stein. Of course, D'Angelo Russell came in. Clay's going to be a minute before Clay comes back. Kevon Looney's still nursing that injury. He's going to come back. He may not play a lot in the preseason, but, man, they still got that man. Wardell is still there. Stephen Curry that man is still there doing his thorough thizzle. And I've heard some people say he has an outside chance of being MVP this year. He got more than an outside chance of being MVP this year. You're going to see Steph do his thing this year. If you're a fan, you're like, well, Lumiere don't win. Hey, man, Steve Nash won it. Steph done won it twice. Steph is the only unanimous MVP ever. So Steph is going to go get that third one. He's going to get that third one this year. Now, if you're one of those people that's a Steph Curry hater, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for your son, because I got 99 problems, but Steph Curry A1. See what I did right there? Steph Curry is that thing, man. He's rested. He's coming back. That man is going to do some great things. So let me dive into who I consider my top 16 teams, and then going into the regular season, man, every show I'm gonna be talking about something specific about what's going on, some specific moves, something you should be watching for as we go in, man. If you're an NBA fan, look, it's so much stuff out there right now. If you got to go out there and get you some stuff. The NBA TV got stuff all the time. ESPN got the jump. Man, it's a lot going on. So I eat it all up. And I give it to you because I know everybody don't have time to be listening and watching stuff like that. That's why I'm here for you. So go ahead and thank me later. Okay, so here we go. As I told you, it's 21 days to the regular season. 21 days to the regular season. So go ahead and mark your calendar for that. All right, man, here's my top 16 teams in no particular order. My top 16 teams going into this season of the NBA. My top 16, no particular order, so don't at me talking about. Also, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. My handle on there is Musician Al. So if you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can hit me there. I forgot to tell y'all that. I'm sorry, man. Twitter I'm on there, Musician Al, spelled straight out. All right, here's my top 16 teams. Top 16 teams in no particular order in the NBA going into this season. No particular order. Of course, I got the Golden State Warriors at the top. I already kind of ran down what was happening with the Golden State Warriors, man. No more KD. No more Boogie, no more Sean Livingston, no more Andre Iguodala. It's a different team. Zaza is now part of the coaching staff. It's a completely different team, but it's some things that ain't changed. You still got Steve Kerr. You still got that front office with Bob Meyer. You still got the ownership with Joe Lacob and them boys. You still got one of the greatest players of all time in Steph Curry. You still got another great player in Klay Thompson, who will be back at All-Star break. You still got Draymond Green, who's a future Hall of Famer. You still got those cats on the team, and you added last year. You added a young cat with D'Angelo Russell, who was an All-Star last year out there in Brooklyn, who's gonna come in, learn from the greatest. It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice with that team. So watch the Golden State Warriors. Of course, you got the Los Angeles Lakers. We've been talking about everybody been talking about the Lakers. LeBron finally got Anthony Davis out there. So we're going to see what happens. That team is really old. I'm just letting you know that team is really old. They got rid of all their young players. Kuzma is hurt, and that's it. That's your young. And so watch out for that team, man. I feel bad for Frank Vogel. I wouldn't have took that job, but he took it, and so there we are. So watch out for the Lakers. We're going to get deep into these teams, but you already know what it is with the Lakers. It's LeBron. It's Anthony Davis. Let's see what happens. You got the Clippers. Look, you got Kawhi. You got Paul George. Paul George is going to be out until November. You got Kawhi. Doc Rivers came out and said, Kawhi said, my team wasn't good enough. This team ain't good enough for me. I don't know how that's going to shake out with Williams and with Patrick Beverly and those cats, because I don't know how I would feel if we want you to come to our team and you say we ain't good enough, you need to go get somebody else. Paul George is hurt. We got to see what happens. Both his shoulders, okay? He had 2 soldiers procedures. So that means he ain't done no shooting in the offseason. So we got to see what's going to happen with Paul George. You know what's going down there in Houston. My number 4 team, so number 1, Golden State. Not in particular order, Golden State, Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, Houston Rockets with Russell Westbrook and your boy James Harden. We got to see if that's going to work together. It sounds good right now, but I got to see them playing in real games together. So we're going to see what happens with that team. You got Denver. Denver made a nice little push last year with Jamal Murray and Jokic. And we got to see, the young cat, Michael Porter Jr. is supposed to play this year from the University of Missouri, Mizzou. And we're going to see what happens with that team. Denver was an up-and-coming team last year. We're going to see what happens with them this year. You got Portland. Portland, you already know what it is. Dame Lillard, C.J. McCullough, Nurkic. You know what it is. Nurkic got hurt at the end of last season, so we don't even know what's going to really go down. But we're going to see for real once the season gets to popping off. And I'm going to go into these teams individually as we get closer to the season. So don't trip if I haven't given your team the just due. We're going to go into in depth my top 16. Philadelphia, you know what it is. Ben Simmons, Embiid. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens with that team. We're going to see. That's all I'm going to say. We don't know what's up with Philadelphia. Utah, they got Donovan Mitchell. Utah's always going to be nice. Quinn Snyder is still the head coach, former player at Duke, former assistant at Duke, former head coach of the Mizzou. So we're going to see Donovan Mitchell. He needs to turn that corner. 2 playoffs in a row, we got to a place where he couldn't step up, and he got to make that. He can either be Donovan Mitchell or he can move over into that Dwayne Wade class where he carries a team. I want to see what happens. Milwaukee, Giannis Antetokounmpo, you got to see. We got to see what's happening. They say he got a jump shot now. Last year, the jump shot wasn't falling. So we're going to see if all that lifting weights and all that, it don't mean nothing if you can't shoot that outside shot, if they can sink back in on you. So we're going to see what happens with Milwaukee. And again, I told you, we're going to talk about each of these teams as we get closer. I'm going to break them down individually. So I got 16 teams. You're going to get that 16. Milwaukee. So Antetokounmpo, like I said, we're going to see what happens with them. Boston, they brought in Kemba Walker. They got rid of Kyrie. They got rid of Al Horford. So now you got Kemba. Now you got Brown. Now you got the homeboy, Jason Tatum. You still got Hayward. We got to see what happens. Now we got to see what really happens now. Last year you said the issue was Hayward coming back from the injury and Kyrie not really knowing what he's supposed to be doing out there. Am I the boss? Am I the ball hog? Am I the facilitator? Am I the scorer? And it turned out to be nothing. They took a step back last year. I think this year they'll take a step forward. I see Boston in the Eastern Conference Final, back in the Eastern Conference Final. Oladipo down there with Indiana. We're going to see what happens with that. Oladipo's coming back from the injury. He was balling out before he got hurt. Again, he's like Donovan Mitchell. We got to see if you can turn the corner, if you can pick that team, if you can lift your team. San Antonio Spurs going to always be the San Antonio Spurs. They're going to always be the San Antonio Spurs. So we got to see, they got DeMar DeRozan. They was balling last year. They had some injuries. They hit him early. DeJounte Murray got hurt early. So, we got to see what happens with that team. But that's going to be a team to watch because you got Popovich. Even though he didn't do well this summer, he's still Popovich. That's still his team. You still got to keep an eye on the San Antonio Spurs always. You got Minnesota. You got Karl Anthony Towns. You have no excuse now. You got Wiggins. You have no excuse now. We got to see. You got Tyus Jones at the guard position. We got to see you do something, man. It can't be first it was Jimmy Butler, and then you always got some issues. We got to see what happens with Minnesota. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with that team. We're going to see. But they're in my top 16. We got Miami now. They got Jimmy Butler down there. Jimmy Butler done went down to South Beach. We're going to see what happens with Jimmy. Don't worry. Dwayne Wade ain't coming back. He ain't coming back, so you ain't got to say, oh, we just live. No, he ain't coming back. Dwayne Wade is loving his life. Shout out to him and Gabrielle Union. They if you don't follow them on Twitter or Instagram, you tripping. You need to follow that family. Them cats, they having a good time. So I'm putting Miami in my top 16 because they got Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a top 20 player in the league. You got a top 20 player like Jimmy Butler. He's a dog. I can see him. I can see Miami making a push to come in there. You got OKC. They don't have anybody, but they got Chris Paul. And I believe Chris Paul is going to stay with that team, and I think he's going to ball out with that team. I think Chris Paul is going to try to make a push for MVP playing on that team. If he gets this team to the playoffs, Chris Paul is going to get his first MVP. I guarantee you that. And then we got them young cats down in New Orleans, man. We got them young cats down in New Orleans hey, look. You got Alvin Gentry down there in New Orleans. You got Zion Williamson. You got the 2018-2019 Lakers playing with him. Lonzo, Josh Hart. You got Brandon Ingram. You got the whole team, the 2018-2019 Lakers down there with the exception of LeBron and the old dudes. And so we're going to see what happens. But they can make a run. They stay healthy. If Lonzo stays healthy, Lonzo's a great point guard. Zion, if he doesn't have to do too much, if they don't count on him doing too much, Zion is going to be your rookie of the year. And so that's my 16. Golden State. No particular order. Golden State, Lakers, Clippers, Houston, Denver, Portland, Philly, Utah, Milwaukee, Boston, Indiana, Spurs, Minnesota, Miami, OKC, New Orleans. Those are my top 16 teams, no particular order. In the Western Conference, you got Golden State, the Lakers, the Clippers, Houston, Denver, Portland, Utah, San Antonio, Minnesota, OKC, and New Orleans. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And only 8 of them can make the playoffs. So somebody ain't going to make the playoffs. Who knows who it's going to be? So that's the beginning of the NBA, man. We are excited. As you can see, I can talk about the NBA all day. I love the NFL, and I can talk about that all day, but you see that NBA is in me. So look, thank you for listening today. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening. Remember, you can listen to this podcast via Spotify. Let's Get It with Alerica Anderson on Spotify. We are on SoundCloud. We're going to be adding new platforms over the next coming weeks so you can get us on anything else. There's live video that shows up on our Facebook page, so you can get that too. If you want to you're one of those people who are in visual and you want to see me do the show, you can see the video that I post on Facebook. I'm so excited to be doing this, and I'm so glad that you have taken time to listen to us. If you want to get at me, 7musicandsports@gmail.com. Twitter, I'm on there, Musician Al. Instagram, Musician Al. Send me an email, hit me up on Facebook, whatever you need to do to get at me. I appreciate you listening. So until next time, this right here is Let's Get It with Alerica Anderson. We're glad you joined us. We'll see you next time. God bless.